In a distant realm, where magic flowed like rivers and dreams blossomed like flowers, there was a hidden garden known as the Garden of Endless Seasons. Legend said that the garden was the source of all seasons, its magic keeping the balance between spring, summer, autumn, and winter. However, for years, the garden had been sealed away, and the world outside had fallen into chaos. Seasons stopped changing, and the land became barren. In a small village trapped in an endless winter, there lived a curious boy named Theo. He loved listening to the old tales of the Garden of Endless Seasons, told by his grandmother, a former guardian of the garden. "Once the garden flourished," she would say, her voice soft and wistful. But its heart, the crystal bloom, was stolen, and without it, the balance was lost. One evening, as the frost crept into their cottage, Theo's grandmother handed him a golden key. "This key opens the gate to the garden," she whispered. "You have the courage and kindness the garden needs. Go, Theo, and restore the balance." The Gate of Seasons. The next morning, Theo set out on his journey. Clutching the golden key, he braved the biting cold and trudged through the snow-covered forest until he reached a large gate entwined with vines of every color. The vines shimmered faintly, as though remembering their lost magic. Theo inserted the key, and with a soft click, the gate opened. As he stepped inside, the air grew warmer, and he found himself in a realm unlike any he had ever seen. Each corner of the garden was alive with a different season: fields of blooming flowers in spring, golden meadows in summer, fiery forests in autumn, and glittering snowfields in winter. But at the garden's center was a withered tree, its branches bare and its roots cracked. "The garden is dying," Theo murmured, the trials of the 4 seasons. As Theo approached the tree, a voice echoed through the air. It was soft, yet commanding, like the wind whispering through leaves. "The garden's balance was broken when the crystal bloom was taken. To restore it, you must pass the trials of the 4 seasons and retrieve the bloom from the chamber of balance." The first trial, the blossoming of spring. In the spring corner of the garden, Theo found a field of flowers frozen in time. To complete the trial, he had to help the flowers bloom again. As he touched a withered flower, he heard the voice of doubt within himself. "You're just a boy. What makes you think you can bring life to something so broken?" Theo closed his eyes, remembering his grandmother's faith in him. "Kindness brings life," he whispered, and with his touch, warmth spread through the field, and the flowers began to bloom. The second trial, the heat of summer. In the summer meadow, Theo faced the blistering heat and a path blocked by thorny vines. The vines whispered of anger and impatience. "Turn back. You'll never endure the heat." Theo wiped the sweat from his brow, but refused to give in. He remained patient, finding a hidden path through the vines. As he stepped forward, the vines receded, and the meadow cooled. The third trial, the harvest of autumn. In the autumn forest, Theo found a tree bearing golden fruit, but each time he reached for it, the fruit vanished. A voice taunted him. "Greed will lead you nowhere." Theo paused, realizing that the trial was not about taking, but about giving. He gathered fallen leaves and placed them at the tree's base, showing gratitude for what the season offered. In return, the tree dropped a single golden fruit into his hands. The fourth trial, the frost of winter. In the winter field, Theo faced a blizzard so fierce it blinded him. He felt cold seep into his bones, and fear gripped his heart. "You'll freeze here, lost and forgotten," the wind howled. But Theo remembered the warmth he had felt in the garden and held on to hope. "Even winter has its beauty," he said, wrapping his arms around himself and pushing forward. The blizzard faded, revealing a path lined with glistening snowflakes. The Chamber of Balance. At last, Theo reached the center of the garden, the Chamber of Balance, where the crystal bloom lay encased in ice. As he approached, a shadowy figure appeared, its eyes cold and calculating. "You wish to restore the balance?" the figure asked. "What will you give in return?" Theo hesitated. He had nothing but his heart, filled with hope and love for the world. "I offer myself," he said. "If it means restoring the seasons, I'll give whatever is needed. The shadowy figure studied him, then smiled faintly. You have proven yourself worthy. The garden needs no sacrifice, only someone who understands its essence. The ice around the crystal bloom melted, and Theo carefully placed it back into the withered tree. Light spread through the garden, and the seasons began to flow once more. Spring, summer, autumn, and winter returned to the world, each in its time. The return. Theo returned to his village, where the snow had begun to melt, and life returned to the frozen fields. The villagers, once lost in despair, found hope in the changing seasons. Theo, though still a boy, was hailed as a hero. But he remained humble, knowing that the true power lay not in him alone, but in the balance of nature and the courage to act when others would not. Moral of the story. Balance is the key to life, and true courage lies in the willingness to give without expecting anything in return. Even in the darkest times, hope and kindness can restore what was once lost. And so, the story of Theo and the Garden of Endless Seasons became a cherished tale, reminding generations to honor the balance of nature and the beauty of every season.